What I'm doing with my hands anymore. Uh, what is this madness that we find ourselves in? Oh, I know. We are here for another episode of the Takedown Troop Reviews, your weekly TNA wrestling review shows. Hi, you Biconics nerds out there. It's been a hot minute. It's felt chaotic over the last week and a half with TNA reviews because real life stuff has kind of kept us busy. But we are back to our regular recording
Yep.
schedule. Let me tell you, it's been a journey to get here. Me and Will are fighting colds and just coming on the
Oh.
tail end of it. Andrew's out here living his thespian life for the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
So we're all over the place. But one thing that is not all over the place, well, most of the time anyways, is our weekly TNA programming. And you know, I'm going to apply the same statement that I did in NXT. I enjoyed this show, but I had some thoughts too.
Yeah. I yeah. I'm the same way. I'm like, I enjoyed this episode. I didn't quite understand some of this episode, like choices that were made.
We're going to be completely honest. Most of our deduction of our points come from robbing us for a second time of no Joe Hendry wrestling.
Yep.
I'm not going to bury the lead with that one. We'll get into more detail about that one. But TNA, come here. Come here for a second.
Come on, man.
I want to see Joe Hendry wrestle. It's been way too long since we've seen him wrestle in the ring. Anyways, but I promise there's going to be some good stuff too. It's not always going to be negative. So, with the glasses now on my face, let's begin this proper. We kick off TNA. I almost said NXT. Me
That's
and Will
okay.
see,
I'm in that mindset too, though.
because it's just me and Will. Andrew needs to balance this out, man. Like for
Yeah.
reals. Because when it's just me and Will, I think it's NXT, but it's not. But kicking off TNA this week, and also there's too many promotions with 3 letters for their names. It's crazy. But we get our opener for this week: Jake Something versus Frankie Kazarian. Okay, I was very surprised in terms of I was expecting Frankie to be kind of a chicken-ish heel and be running away from it. This ended up being a lot more powerhousey than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, yo, Frankie's kind of killing it right now. What is
Mm-hmm.
happening right now? Because to go
Well,
from a lackluster promo,
yeah,
and I was just like, that promo sucked, let's be honest.
it
But
did.
his in-ring talent is never in question.
No. Well, he kind of had to bring it in this match because we know
Comment
Jake will bring it.
and commentary made sure to let us know because Jake is not a small dude. Jake is a big guy. And so Jake has a lot of power behind him.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think that's why Frankie was so like hard hitting because he knew. Well, I mean, he knows his opponent. I guess that's a good thing, and that's one of the good things about it is that I feel that Frankie knew his opponent, and that's why he had to change his tactics.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to how we normally see Frankie wrestle. I think he was like, "Oh shit, this is Jake something," and he's like a tank. So I'm gonna have to like be a heavy hitter, truly, to keep up with
Seriously.
him.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just like, like I said, I was very surprised of how powerhousey this match was. I was very happy to see this was more back and forth than it was. And I actually didn't mind that Frankie had to resort to cheating to beat Jake because it continues to make Frankie look like a, you know, scared heel to lose, and so he's gonna run out of dodge. But this also continues to make Jake look strong too.
Agreed. And anytime we get to see Jake wrestle, I'm here for it.
Oh, absolutely. I am super happy
Oof,
to
he's so yummy.
I was like, we're gonna keep a tally throughout the whole night because there was a lot of things that happened this
Yeah, there's a lot of yummy.
episode. So we're gonna keep track. So that's one on the Will's yummy count right now.
Mm-mm.
Which
Well,
then we go,
but you got to
yeah.
understand something real quick. Let me explain. Throughout the whole episode, there are meals and there are snacks. Jake is a meal.
Oh my goodness. Ugh.
Just saying.
This is why I love Will and I love him
I
being my
mean,
co-host.
Jake
He's
is
so
like
good.
a 4-course dinner. Because I mean, there's a lot of beef there. I mean, there's a lot.
I mean, you're not necessarily wrong. So we're gonna keep track and see
And
how much we end up at the end of this. So that's one on the board.
Jake is a meal. Okay, so we got one meal.
We'll put that on a t-shirt somewhere.
Jake, Jake is a
So-
meal.
yes. So after this match with Frankie Kazarian pick up the victory, we kind of go into tandem with this next backstage segment, which featured Eric Young in some dim lighting. And he basically is like, I've been trying to process what's been happening. I've listened to you talk. I've watched you in the ring. So now, Frankie Kazarian, next week, I want you to come to the ring so we can settle the score. And I'm like, yes, finally, we're Frankie and Eric are going to be going head to head in terms of a promo and the eventual match we're going to get. I'm super excited
Yeah,
for.
me too. Finally.
Finally, this is what I wanted for this whole entire thing since we got it, and now we're finally getting to the first
Yeah.
part of
I mean, it
the
took them
rest
long
of it.
enough too. I mean, it literally took them long enough to get here.
It's been like 3 weeks, almost a whole month.
Yeah, I'm
to
like,
Turn.
after it first happened, if I was young, I'd be like, you and I got a score to settle. We need to do it right now. I'm
Fight,
like,
fight, fight. But I'm excited for this. Eric Young is going to whoop, or at least try to whoop Frankie's butt, and I'm excited to see for this feud. But speaking of butts getting whooped, Jordan Grace versus Savannah Evans. Lord have mercy, there's a lot of beef with these women.
and this match was only okay in my book. I mean, it's what happens after the match that actually made this match freaking awesome. I'm like, I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, because watching Jordan Grace do her thing is like awesome. I love watching her
That
wrestle. I mean, truly, she is also a meal, by the way. Um,
is too.
but I mean, so I was like, okay, this is gonna be great, because I love watching her fight. And then, of course, she was, going up against
Savannah
Savannah,
Evans.
and I was like, oh, this is gonna be really good. And one, it was super short. Like, I
It's like
mean,
8 minutes.
super short. I was just like, wait, what? It's over already? And but I wasn't all of the match itself, I wasn't all that impressed with. I thought it was a little I felt like Jordan was kind of holding her punches, to be honest. And I mean, I don't know if that's just because it's Savannah or what. I don't know, but I just I hate it when here's my thing. If you're going to put someone that is less experienced with someone like Jordan Grace, let's just say, I'm just a hearsay thing. If you have to say, Jordan, we need you to hold your punches, then you probably don't want to put them together. One, it makes it's kind of sad for oh, God bless America. My English today is horrible. The challenger, and then it makes your actual like champion look weak, and I hate that. And we know, every damn one of us knows that Jordan Grace is not weak. It's like we know it. She could literally lift that whole building up, I think, and shake it a couple of times and put it back down and not have broken a sweat. I mean, she is like a machine. She's a beast. And I don't feel like this match at all showcased any of that. Because it literally felt like she was having to be careful, quote unquote,
And
that
she
she,
was
you know,
yeah, she was pulling her punches with Savannah,
yeah,
which
uh,
we know that Savannah is still newer to wrestling, but even
yeah,
still, we've seen Savannah be involved in more hard-hitting matches.
yeah. That's why I was like,
Or
I don't understand why I didn't understand why why she was pulling her punches. So
I know
I don't know.
Savannah went up against Masha Slamovic for goodness
Yeah,
sake,
that's why
like,
I
a
was because
while.
it's funny. I was thinking that too. When I was watching this match, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, didn't
Savannah has
Savannah
fought
go up
Masha.
against Masha? That's what I thought. And I'm like, she can hold her own. I'm like, come
Mhm.
on, Jordan, unleash. You know? I don't know. That's it wasn't a bad match. It was just it was all right. Yeah.
Wasn't the worst thing. I
Yeah.
will say this women's match was better than what we got it mostly for NXT. And I know I'm throwing
Mm,
shade at NXT, but like I cannot get over how bad
the
this
women's
week's women's
matches
match
were. Oh my
and
god, they
this
were
week
so
on
weak.
NXT.
They were so
But
weak.
yeah, the match itself was fine with Savannah and Jordan. It's what happened
It was
afterwards that
however at the
there is the biggest however all in caps, underline, bold face, italicized, whatever you want to call it.
I had to
Because
pick my
then
jaw off the ground.
so Giselle went into business for herself, so we knew she was gonna attack Jordan, that was a given, and then she turns around and decks Savannah in the face too,
With
and,
the
like, lays her
X.
out with the X,
She's all
and
like
then she continues to beat up Jordan, and the last thing we see is Giselle holding up the Ultimate X and
and knocked the
the
world
TNA
champion. Yeah.
Knockouts champion, yeah, I was just like, "Alright," I was like, "Giselle, you already won me over as a fan," but I was just like,
I know.
this
I was like,
this solo heel run has been solidified.
and it's so funny because I literally was like, my jaw was on the ground when she attacked Savannah. I was just like, because Savannah's like, yeah, that's it, girl, get her, and then she's all like, smack. I was just like, oh my god, what is that?
Will Will has his count for tonight. My count is going to be the "Oh my gosh"
Yeah,
counter,
this was an
because
oh
there
my
was a lot
god
of
counter.
moments that caught me off guard so much.
Uh-huh.
Giselle decking Savannah as hard as she did was number 1 for me, but
Man.
I'm really excited, and this is how you build a match. I'm excited for Jordan versus Giselle at No Surrender next week. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of fun things, we
Yay.
finally got our first, like, kinda talking promo from Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke. Listen, me and Will, as you know, someone as 2 people who got to see her run in NXT before she got let go for the company, and how mad we were that NXT let her go. We are happy to see the formerly known as Dana Brooke, Ash. We're just happy to see Ash back on our screens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've missed Ash so much, and she has her own, like, Chevalier, like,
That was so funny.
I was just like, "I don't know what's happening here, but I'm here for the ridiculousness."
Gia Gia was so like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Give me that mic." She's like, "All right, I'm just gonna step
I like
off."
him already because he has the charisma. I was like, "You
Yep.
need to have the charisma, over the top charisma like that if
Uh-huh.
you're going to play a character where you're basically being a butler slash indentured servant slash
Mhm.
chevalier to a very elegant, regal woman as Ash
Mhm.
by Elegance." And we get the announcement from her that she will have her in-ring debut next week, which I'm all here for. I want this to be she, like, pays expensive money to wear all these, like, elegant dresses, and then she'll cut a girl in the ring, like, she'll fight you real
Mhm.
quick. I'm super excited.
Me
I'm so
too.
happy. I'm happy that we slowly been building to this in-ring debut, because seeing all these vignettes and then finally seeing Ash tonight has made me more interested as each week has gone on, cuz this is how you tease the debut of a new talent in your company. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super excited for Ash, and her debut match is next week, and then I can't wait.
Oh, me either. I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait.
Me neither. So then we get the second episode of the sound check with Alan Angels. So this was corny to begin with, but let me tell you something, Will. Simon Gotch, in his delivery and just the whole entire time he talked, I already loved him to begin with because I have prior history with him. But this is how you get me interested in a brand spanking new match for a pay per view. Because Simon Gotch literally was a villain the whole entire time talking. And I was like, you know what? I kind of agree with him. Oh God, what am I doing? Turning on Josh, save me.
I know, right? Well, oh, and I love the corniness of this the best talk show on TNA. I'm
It's the
like, dude,
only
you're the
talk show
only
on
talk show on
TNA.
TNA.
Oh my
And
goodness.
but no, this was a really good one. This was I didn't know Simon. I have no prior anything with him, but I do like how he delivered this. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Josh Alexander's got a nemesis, which is what I think he's needed. Like someone specifically out to get him and him alone. You know, everybody else that Josh has kind of had beef with, they've been kind of like all over the place. But this guy's coming in and like hyper focusing on just Josh. And I think that's pretty awesome. And I really think that's what I think Josh needed that actually. I think he needs that opposition to sort of not enhance, but kind of support his sort of who he is, his character. Because it's like, and again, and I'll use comic books and things like that. It's like Superman needs a nemesis. He needs Lex Luthor. Without Lex Luthor, Superman isn't Superman. It's like the Batman. You've got to have the Joker in order to have Batman. It's that sort of, you don't have the Joker, you don't really have Batman. Because they are truly like they live for each other. And I think this is going to be great. I'm very excited about it. And also, Simon Gotch is a snack, mostly because the sound check was all about the Gotch crotch.
When Will sent me that, I lost my mind. I'm like,
Did you not? You went back and watched it, didn't you? He was
as soon as
prominently displaying a rather bulky package. Just
look,
saying.
as soon as you sent it to me, I'm like, hold up, now I actually hang on. I was like, of course, Will would point that out to me, but the intensity from Simon Gotch though in this is like he didn't need to yell.
Nope. This was
I'm not a
calm. I love
Yes,
this.
this was a quiet rage, and I'm just like,
I
those were the
loved it.
most scary. As a character trait, quiet rage is one of those tropes that is very scary to have in a character because they're calm on the surface, but behind those eyes,
Seething.
they're seething and they're thinking about 10 different ways to take you out.
Yep. Oh, and
I also I
oh, good.
loved it. I also love that as this is going on, Josh Alexander is basically the Big Bird mean who kicks down the door because
Uh
he's
huh.
like, "You got a problem with it?" And then they fight, which then cuts the feed for the sound check. And I was like, "This is perfect.
Oh, it was.
Bravo!"
It was. It was a great moment.
It's probably my favorite segment of the
It
whole night.
was. It was mine too, because it was super fun, and it was just like, yeah, the coming in, the fighting, pushing him into the cameraman, yeah, it was
It's like,
great.
oh snap! Yeah, this has me really excited, and we did get confirmation later in the evening, also on
Yeah.
the internet as well, that it's going to be Josh Alexander versus Simon Gotch at No Surrender. And I am going to sentiment our other co-host who's not here, Will,
Mm.
when he sent us the meme of someone fainting. I'm like, yes, I am about to faint. If this match is as hard hitting as I think it's going to be, honestly, I might put no. This match might end up being on my contention for best matches of 2024, which is really saying something because the majority of the hard to kill matches are already on that list. And I'm telling you, even though it's February, if Josh keeps having great matches like we've been seeing him have, I think
hmm
Josh may end up being my wrestler of the year.
Josh has
For
been pretty. Yeah, he's been pretty consistent. Like,
within the last 2 months,
yeah,
he's about to face Simon Gotch. He got to face Osprey twice,
yeah.
And on top of that, his match at Hard to Kill against Hammerstone was
Yeah, that
nuts.
was crazy. I mean, his rematch with Osprey was pretty intense too. I
I was
mean,
just like,
good God.
Lord have mercy. Josh is that dude, and I'm super excited to see how his style goes up against Simon's at No Surrender, which has me super intrigued, and I'm here for all of it.
Me too.
It's gonna be good. From here, we then get into the second match of the best of three for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. And this is the second match, as I mentioned before, between Grizzled Young Vets GYV versus ABC. And ABC, going into this match, needed to win otherwise because they were down a match. And on top of that, GYV technically had the advantage both number wise because they picked up the first victory, but also because ABC had to work with an injured, I put it injured in air quotes for Ace Austin, whose arm got crushed by a case last week.
Yeah.
One thing I love is consistency because they played on that a little bit during this match. I'm like, oh, wrestling. I love it when you have continuity.
Yep. Oh,
But
yep.
I'm gonna be honest though, the star for me was Chris Bay this match.
Oh my God, that man was on fire.
Holy Toledo, man. I was just like, Chris Bay is a star. Like, oh my gosh.
Seriously, I was just like, wow, wow. I mean, I knew he. I mean, I know he's good, but man, it was. I think it was right there towards the end when he finally got tagged in, and he came in just wailing on those guys. I was just like, this is why I like Chris Bay. I was trying to send you messages while that was going on, and I just got caught
But
up
it's
in
just like too good of a match to miss.
it. It
I'm gonna be
was.
so I think from in-ring wise, this is probably my match of
Yep.
the night from a wrestling wise.
Yep.
However, just pure entertainment and story wise is going to come a little bit later because
Yeah.
there was a shock win I was not expecting. I was like,
Oh.
and we'll talk about that because I think the person who won that match sets up for more in the
Hmm.
knockouts division, which we'll get to in a little bit. But as far as like wrestling wise, this is my match of the night
Yeah.
between this match between GYV and ABC.
Yeah.
And Chris Bay getting the hot tag and kind of clearing house a little bit allowed him and Ace Austin to pick up the victory here. So now the score is tied 1-1.
Chris Bay, snack.
And we got official confirmation that the final match, the third match in the best of
Hmm.
three series, is going to happen at No Surrender. So at No Surrender, we're either going to see ABC retain the titles or we're going to see GYV become your new TNA World Tag Team Champions. And I'm going to be honest, Will, either way, I am cool either
Uh huh.
way.
I agree.
I'm so sad that this best of three is almost over though, because we've gotten banger tag team
Yeah,
matches
I agree.
between these two.
Yeah, even the last fight was so good, but this one, yeah, ABC came back hard in this one.
Which I love because they were down a win, so they needed to win this one.
Mm.
Otherwise, it was all over for them. And I love when that plays into their characters and the wrestling style itself because they were more reckless is not the word, but they were wrestling like they have no fear and
Yeah,
they
like their lives were on the line.
yep, and they wrestled with no abandon. I was like, this is what I want to see all the time from ABC.
Hmm.
Because I was like, ooh, I kind of like this version of ABC with backs against the wall. They need to be, they're desperate, and you could tell. But this match was phenomenal. All four men in this ring were fantastic. Like I said, ABC picks up the victory here. And the third and final match will be at No Surrender next week to see who becomes the TNA World Champ Tag Team Champs. So you know, I don't really want to talk about this because our disdain for these next three people happened, but We got a quick segment with Dirty Dango, Alpha Bravo, and Oleg
Oleg.
Prudius. I'm just like, I forgot they were still here.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I heard Dango's voice, I was like, I don't hate you, Dango, as a person, but I still don't know the direction we're trying to
No,
take with all this.
I don't either. I don't know what this whole thing was about. I was like, what is this about? Why are we
Been
here?
off. Last time we saw you was at Hard to Kill, and that was a couple weeks ago. And what are we doing now?
I'm just like, I don't understand this is the thing. I hate when companies don't know what to do with characters. So they just they put them in these stupid, like, who wants to fight us? Do you want to come? Come and like audition to fight us or whatever the hell they were doing. I'm just like, what? I'm like, can we give this man a purpose, please? Because right now he doesn't have one. And it's getting on my nerves. It's like taking up my valuable time.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, even if it was for like a quick match, I just want a direction for Dirty Dango. And I can't believe I'm invoking this name, but I can't believe I'm saying this. I kind of want Johnny Swinger to come back and
Oh,
feud with.
Jesus.
That's how bad this has gotten, Will. I want for me to invoke Johnny Swinger to come back.
Oh God! Don't say his name again, and it'll appear. If you say it again, it's like Beetlejuice. Don't do it.
Or like Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror.
Or Candyman. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, I just want
I do
I'm
too.
not the I'm not the biggest fan of these characters themselves. I want some direction.
Yeah, me too.
Will we get it? Who knows at this point.
Probably not.
So we go from that into literally the political ad of 2024 because Mustafa Ali cuts this promo in a very presidential election style. Like we get a whole graphic, we get video packages, and then I'm sitting here, I was like, why does this feel oddly familiar? And then I look at the political landscape that is the United States. I'm like, oh yeah. Except this is fun. And it makes me not want to cry and rip my hair out. But Mustafa Ali is just like, you need a leader who's going to lead this X division in the right direction. Can we really say that about Chris Sabin? Hi, I'm Mustafa Ali, and I approve this message. I'm like, we were robbed of this character in NXT because we were slowly getting this character in NXT, and then they let him go. And I'm so mad that they did. But geez, this character rules. I didn't know I wanted a political candidate wrestler character. And I'm kind of happy to see it's Mustafa Ali. This promo was so much fun.
It was, but his promos usually are. But this also kind of hit a chord with the current things going on in TNA. I was kind of like, ooh, this is kind of relevant all of a sudden. Oh my goodness! But I
It's
loved it.
like,
It was a great
so
promo.
good. I know. I find it funny too that it's hitting close to home. I was like, ooh, I know this was pre recorded, but still.
I know. It's like, ooh, ow, too soon, too soon.
Too soon. But we are so close. Next week we'll get Ali in the ring against Saban. But speaking of Saban,
Speaking of,
after Ali's promo airs, then we get to the good hands. The good hands are surrounded by like people who are also supporters of Ali. Like I don't know if they're local wrestlers or people that were at the show. Either way, they actually did all good. They did really well. And then the two
mhm,
that spoke, I was just like, it didn't feel awkward. So I'm like,
no,
shout out to TNA if these were local wrestlers or if these were actual audience members they pulled for a quick thing. I love that the good hands have now just become petty incarnate
I
because they're
know.
being bandwagon and they're like, oh my gosh, Ali is great. I was like, you remind me of my uncle Albert. I was like, he has a mile hard petition. He's a Republican who votes against his own interests. Like that is what the good hands are, just like less icky. I was like,
Yeah,
those they remind me of those people who take politics way too seriously. And then they're just
and
like,
yet
oh
know
my
nothing
gosh,
about
they know nothing about it, but they like the
it.
candidate that they're voting for. I'm like, you don't even know what they stand for. What is happening? which is very funny because like everybody is mostly Canadian in TNA, and for them to do this very Americanized stuff, I was just like, as an American, I am saddened of how accurate this is.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so sad. It's like,
But okay.
accurate.
So this is where the WTF counter goes up to 2 because the good hands are giving this, and then Chris Sabin walks in just trying to exist. And because had his luggage, he was checking his phone, and then the good hands like basically berate him. And they're just like, look, man, like I'm just trying to exist. And then they're talking about how he's cracking under the pressure. And Chris Sabin's like, whatever, I'm out of here. Turns around, like runs into another person who's wearing an Ali shirt. He's like, "Hey man, watch what you're going." Oh, I'm totally sorry. And then I was so caught off guard because Chris Sabin decks this dude in the face, and whoever the sound person is who made that punch, like sounded like he broke, like Chris Sabin broke this poor dude's sternum or whatever, needs a raise. Because I literally, this was the one part of the TNA episode this week. I was so caught off guard. I'm like, oh my gosh, he just decked him in the face. I had to rewind it because I was like, nah, that didn't happen. Bam! I was like, oh snaps, he actually punched the dude in the face. Punching has been a big thing this week in all the wrestling.
Yep. I love it.
I have no words, Will. Like,
I don't
holy
either.
crap, Chris Sabin is actually cracking a little bit, which we talked about before
Yeah.
we rolled, and you had said something, so I'm gonna let you speak on it. Because who did you expect to see this do
I
this kind of stuff?
then when we were talking off camera, and I when we were talking about this because we were both like when it happened, we were both like, oh my god, it was a total oh my god moment for me. And the funny thing about it is I did not expect this from Chris Sabin. Now I would have expected this from Alex Shelley for sure. Because to me, it's sort of like the way that the Motor City Machine Guns have been recently is that Shelley's kind of the hothead, and Saban's more of the sort of voice of reason. I mean he'll knock heads when he has to, but a lot of it has been kind of like that. So when Saban popped that guy in the face, I was just like, what is happening right now? I mean, are we about to see Saban do a turn? Are the Motor City Machine Guns going to become a heel tag team? Oh my god! I think I would be totally here for that. Like truly, I would be here for that because then it would make sense. I mean, it really would make sense because kind of Detroit's kind of rough and tumble, and they're both sort of shifting. You can see, I mean, Shelley's already shifted. We saw him shift with Alexander. Once he and Alexander started their thing, then you could see Shelley shifting. This is the first time I've seen Saban like truly like out of character, like do something out of character. So that surprised the hell out of me.
And honestly, with Saban kind of cracking a little bit like this, and we did get confirmation in our TNA bumpers for next week. We're gonna have Chris Sabin take on the other half of the Good Hands next week.
Hmm.
So I'm so interested to see Chris Sabin kind of go off the deep end a little bit more because if this means that Ali takes advantage of that at No Surrender. All three of us had talk about this in our group chat, but I think all three of us kind of want to see Ali to win the title and have a short
Yeah.
run with it because we have Ali from No Surrender, and then we get the last time we'll see Ali in this little run is after the tapings that happened after Sacrifice in March in Ontario, Canada.
Right.
But man, I was pleasantly surprised and I was caught off guard in the best way possible with Chris Sabin decking this poor dude in the
Oh,
face.
me too. I love this. I mean, if this is where they're going with it, I'm here for it.
Oh, absolutely. So after we watched for the second time this week somebody get punched in the face, like uh listen, we had Roxanne punch someone in the face on NXT, And then Chris Sabin punched somebody in the face. Equal rights, equal fights is the key term for this week's episodes of wrestling in general.
Mhm.
Then we get back to the wrestling because we have a TNA Digital Media Championship match, which I totally forgot was a thing that was going to happen tonight.
I totally
But
forgot about this too.
we have Rhino taking on our digital media champion, Crazy Steve. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't too keen on this match because I'm like, Rhino's okay for me. I love Crazy Steve. I was pleasantly surprised of how much I actually enjoyed this match.
Mhm. Me too. I didn't, because at first I was like, oh, okay, we've kind of already seen this, like this match, And I was kind of like, oh, okay, here we are, okay, and then actually, I kind of got really in. I kind of really got into it. I was kind of like, okay, because at first I was like, all right, here we go. All right, here comes Crazy Steve. He's gonna do his thing. Rhino's gonna do his thing, and it's gonna be like that one fight all over again. And then the bell rang, and Rhino just bulldozed him. It's just like, oh, oh, that's what this is gonna be. Okay, all right. I got started getting invested in it pretty quickly, and then it did. And then of course it was shenanigans central, but it was so good though. I actually really enjoyed this match. This was actually probably my runner up for match of the night, because I and the reason it was is because this I had such low expectations for it, and it totally like exceeded my expectations. And I like that because, and sorry for those of you out there who love Tommy Dreamer. I love Tommy Dreamer too, but when Tommy Dreamer had the title felt cheap. I mean, it did. But now that Crazy Steve has it, it feels like a real title. Like, I mean, like real. Because, I mean, this is the first time that I went, ooh, okay, this is a title worth getting. And I was, because Rhino was very much like, I want that title. And then, so, I mean, it legitimized it, I think. It feels like, to me, it now feels like it's legitimized again. Because prior to Dreamer, I thought it was legitimate. And then Dreamer took it, and it was sort of like, he's just sort of holding on to it. And then he lost it. And then I was like, okay, now we're starting to bring in legitimacy back to it, I think. So, again, I love Tommy Dreamer, so y'all don't come running at me. I just think that under him, the title became kind of a joke.
I feel that the digital media championship kind of became secondary during title Tommy Dreamer's reign,
Hmm.
which is really weird to say because as a championship, championships are meant to kind of be the forefront, regardless if you have like a main title or if you have a mid card or tag
Hmm.
title. Which I think I'm of the mindset that all championships have some sort of equal weight to it, regardless of whether it's a main title or a secondary title. But yeah, I felt like during Tommy Dreamer's reign, that title was very secondary to everything else we got with him, which is really weird to say. But if this is what Crazy Steve's going to do with this title reign, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, me too. I like it. I like what they're building it to. I like how Crazy Steve is making it more focused, like the focus of it. I mean, and I love it because he used it as a weapon in the match, which I love that. I love it when they use the belts as a prop, because it makes it more legitimate to me, as opposed to just sitting off to the side and someone will eventually win it. But no, it's like in the match, it's like literally in the match. And so I really got into this match after I kind of saw it going, and I was like, okay, I really like this match. I liked it more than I thought I would.
I did too. So Crazy Steve is still our digital media champion, which makes me super happy. And we shall see who comes to step up to Crazy Steve next. So then we get a quick backstage segment with PCO in his French Canadian Frankenstein esque promo where he's vowing to destroy Khan. And I'm just thinking, I was like, Star Trek? What?
Yeah,
No,
every
oh,
time that's what I did too. I was like,
Khan.
con.
I was like, not that one, I swear.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. Wrong con.
Which then we get confirmation that it's going to be PCO versus not the Star Trek con, but formerly of the Design con in a match. And I'm looking forward to this match. And I'm super biased when I say this. I was like, I just want every match that PCO is involved in to be a Monsters Ball match. Which we'll see what happens at No Surrender between these two. Because if some schmoz happens, I was like, okay, we gotta at least get a no DQ, like a street fight or something
Yeah.
between these two. I'm just excited that this is gonna be a big Haas
Mm,
match, which I feel like we haven't gotten a really big Haas match in a hot minute because we
yeah.
got Hammerstone and Josh Alexander, but now we're talking about like these are some two prime beef candidates sitting in front of us.
Yep. Also, Crazy Steve's snack.
You know, listen, we hear there's something about crazy characters that we both enjoy.
Hmm.
The uncertainty is really, really cool.
Yes.
Okay, so we gotta talk about my least favorite part of this. I mean, the setup is great, but
Yeah.
this is the second time. This is the second match, like within the last couple of months. We were supposed to get Dina versus Joe Hendry, and then things got out of control as they normally do in the world that is the Joe Hendry cinematic universe. Because so Diener's already in the ring, and he's like making his entrance. Joe Hendry's theme music hits, and I'm like clapping along with it like I normally do. And then AJ Francis interrupts this theme song with his own diss track and then proceeds to come out and basically, you know, I actually really like this part from AJ Francis and then basically kind of turns it around on Joe Hendry. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's breaking the fourth wall. He's being meta.
Mm,
I'm here for it.
yep.
Then, of course, we all come to know and love Joe Hendry because Joe's like, I don't even know what to say. I was like, this is what I've been doing. He has like a miniature existential crisis,
Yep.
which was funny to watch. And he's like, but I gotta answer back. It's not like I had a second video and then lo and behold,
I know. It was
a
so funny.
second music video plays. It was just as funny as the first one,
Yeah. God, it was
which
so
then
funny.
proceeds to AJ Francis beating up Joe Hendry, and then Diener sides with AJ and beats him up too, which then prompts Rich Swan of all people to come out for the save. So it's going to be Hendry and Swan versus AJ Francis and Diener at some point. I didn't know I wanted Rich Swan in this feud, but I'm kind of excited to see him pair up with Joe
Yeah.
Hendry. And I'm actually really intrigued for this eventual tag team match between these four men.
Yes, me too. Because I'm really wanting someone to shut AJ Francis up, and I want it to be Rick Swan. I really do. I thought they were going to get into it there in the ring when they were facing off with each other. I was like, oh, because you can see Rick Swan was just like, I mean, he was puffing up, and I was like, uh oh, we're just gonna, oh, Swan's gonna like wail on him. And then he's like, yeah, it's not whatever, you don't need. Then he walked out of the ring, but I was just like, oh my god, I can't wait. I want to see this so bad.
The size difference alone in that like face off between the two, because AJ's like a good foot and a half taller
Oh
than
my
Rich
god, I
Swan.
know.
I was like, I
Plus, a,
forgot how tall AJ Francis is.
and a good foot and a half wider than him too. I mean, it was like to Rick. It's like, like,
AJ Francis fills himself out in the best way possible. Like,
mm-hmm,
oh my gosh.
mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm upset that we got robbed of another Joe Hendry match.
Oh, I
But
know.
if this is leading to an eventual match where we get to see Joe Hendry tag with Rich Swan against Diener and Francis, I am okay with this. Just I hope TNA doesn't wait too long to do this match.
Okay, I will give TNA one more time to do this to Joe Hendry, and then if he doesn't fight after that, I'm gonna be pissed because I'm like power of three. You know, you do it three times. After the third time, you got to give us something. So he better fucking give us something.
Seriously.
I've got more fan fiction to write.
I mean, if it hasn't been said before, Joe, Will really loves Joe Hendry.
Meal,
We all
by the
do
way,
here.
meal.
We all love Joe Hendry. I just want to see Hendry. We want to see Hendry wrestle. So hopefully we're getting that pretty soon.
Yes, please. I love when he wrestles, and I just wish they would let him do it.
Because he reminds me of how, like, even though he's kind of short, Joe Hendry is kind of built a little weird. I don't want to say weirdly. Weirdly is not the word.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use built differently because that's what the kids say and that's kind of overused as too. But physically and what Joe Hendry is able to do ring wise shouldn't be the case. They don't line up. They don't match.
Right.
And he surprises me because I was like, the last time we saw Joe Hendry wrestle, I forgot. I was like, he's actually a pretty big
I
powerhouse.
He is.
Like, uh,
Ugh.
we said our piece on it. TNA,
Mm.
we need to get Joe Hendry back in the ring. And hopefully this tag match happens.
Yes.
So then we get a little like a recap of what that went down at another independent promotion in Puerto Rico. Nick Nemeth was wrestling. Yo, Steve Macklin booked it down there and beat him like Nick Nemeth owed him lunch money. I was like, that was a hearty run, which was I was just like, that was great. And then Steve Macklin in Puerto Rico beat up on Nick Nemeth, which then we cut to Gia Miller, who is with Steve Macklin and his entourage now, the Rascals. And
Never
Gia's just
never saw that
Gia,
coming, by the way.
right, which is insane. I was like, I didn't know I wanted these three together, but I'm kind of glad we do have them now because it gives all three of them like a different dimension to their characters, which I'm excited for. But Gia asked Steve, is like, do you want to explain your actions? And Steve's like, my actions speak louder than my words. You saw what happened. And then we get everyone's favorite wrestling dad come in Tread 7
Ugh.
being accompanied by Mike Bailey. his his accent, I was just like, "Oh, I forgot how cockney you are," and I love it.
Meal. Meal.
Trent Seven is everyone's wrestling dad.
He's a meal. Yummy, yummy.
He is dad because he has the man bun and everything.
Yeah. And mm,
But this but what makes me more excited is we're gonna finally see Trent Seven in the ring next week because he's gonna be taking on Steve Macklin, and I'm like, I didn't know I wanted this match until we got confirmation it's happening next week.
I'm ready for it because I really want Trent Seven to kick his ass.
Me too. I'm just happy to see Trent finally wrestle after,
I know.
he was supposed to be with Bailey at Hard to Kill, but travel issues didn't let that happen. And it seems that everything got fixed now, and I'm happy. I mean, we saw Trent and Bailey wrestle together at Final Resolution back in December, but this will be the first time since signing to TNA that this will be Trent's first TNA match since signing after Final Resolution, and I'm so here for it. I want them to be given time because I like Macklin, I like Trent. I'm super excited to see where this match goes. I'm so happy.
Me too.
I'm ready for some British wrestling. It's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get into the surprising match in terms of who won. Because then we get Killer Kelly versus Danny Luna. And I was like, okay, so Kelly's gonna win because we have this knockouts tag team match happening at No Surrender between MK Ultra and Decay. So you want to give them the win. And you know what? The match itself was really good. Danny Luna is one of my favorites. I love her
Hmm.
so much.
Yeah, this was a good
She's so
match.
great. Killer Kelly was great. This match was a lot of fun. But the when we get to the ending though, because MK Ultras try to pull their stuff that we normally see, and Jody Threat was having none of it. I also loved the suspender and jean combo she was wearing. Like the denim jeans and the suspenders. I'm like, Jody Threat is my spirit animal. I love her so much. But Jody Threat was running interference to keep Masha away, which allowed Danny to surprise roll up Killer Kelly for the win. And I had to pause my screen because I was not expecting Killer Kelly, my homegirl from South America, to lose. But I was not mad. It was the other surprise for me too. I was like, I'm kind of here that they lost.
I This was a surprise for me too. I was very surprised by this. I mean, I was just like, okay, okay. I was just, all right. I literally was just like, because I was like, I was literally trying to wrap my head around it because I was thinking, well, because why would you have them lose? Not that I was upset because I was actually very thrilled that Danny Luna and Jody Threat won. Though it was surprising, I was just trying to figure out why they did it like that.
You know, I thought about it too a little bit because normally when you have your number one contenders like fight prior to the championship match at a pay per view, you always want to make sure that your number one contenders win because you want to keep them looking strong. But surprisingly, though, I still feel that MK Ultra still looks strong by the end of this because even though Danny picked up the win against Killer Kelly, MK Ultra busted in the ring and started beating up on Danny Luna and Jody Threat. Which then in the reverse Uno card moment that nobody saw coming, we had Decay come in for the save like baby faces. I was like, who knew that a spooky ooky duo would be baby faces in this scenario? Because then Havoc and Rosemary come out to save Danny Luna and Jody Threat with MK Ultra getting the heck out of Dodge.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I love Decay. Oh my god, I love Decay. I love
I did
Decay
too.
more than I love uh
The Death
the Death
Dolls.
Dolls. Thank you. I was like, why is my I was like DD. What is it? It's duh. um but yeah, I like Decay a lot better. I mean, well, they're darker, and I always like the darker characters, but I don't know. There's something just so cool and fun about them. The Death Dolls were cool and fun, but there's just something slightly cooler and more fun with Decay. Like I like their whole aesthetic they got going on.
Weirdly enough, this version of Decay reminds me, I don't know if you've seen it in the film, but the way they dress now and the way they act and the way they speak, they're like the Donnie Darko of the Knockouts
Yeah,
Tag Team
yeah,
Division, which I really enjoy.
I do too. I really like them a lot. I really like this reinvention that they did, like a lot. But
So
yeah, this was a very surprising outcome.
I was surprised too, and I was pleasantly surprised.
hmm
And I'm mad that Andrew's not here because I really wanted to hear his take on this too. Because I was like, the three of us have the three of us technically think along the same lines. So,
Yeah.
but I'm happy for Danny. MK Ultra still looks strong.
hmm
Decay I guess are baby faces now. But
Yeah.
regardless, this made me really more excited for this tag team championship match we're getting at No
Yeah.
Surrender.
Agreed.
Now TNA, don't pull the same thing that you did at Bound for Glory and pull it from the card. Please don't do that.
Oh
'Cause then I
god.
will cry and I will
I'll
write
be
a
so
strongly
pissed.
worded email.
hmm
Ugh. Anyways, so we get our bumpers for next week's TNA of what to expect, and then we get our bumpers of what to expect for No Surrender too, because pretty much get a rundown of the card. Stay tuned. We're gonna do predictions next week because the pay per view is next Friday. It's gonna be
Yep.
crazy. It's gonna be crazy. And then we head into our main event for this episode: Kushida versus Moose. I like the wrestling that I did saw,
Oh,
but I was a little underwhelmed of how short this match was.
I
It was
would,
like
you
it's
know,
crazy.
okay. I think I think that Moose's style is just smash and bang, because he's just so big, and he's just like Hulk smash, type of thing. And then Kushida is so spry, like a grasshopper on the wind, and I was rather underwhelmed by both of them. Actually, I was just like, and I hate that because I love Kushida. I have like really kind of gotten like really like when I saw that it was Moose and Kushida, I got excited because I was like, oh my gosh, Kushida, that would be amazing. I would love to see him win, that sort of thing. But and then it was sort of almost predictable, dare I say?
I feel because of
Or
how short this match was, it never got into like a second gear.
uh-uh. No, it didn't. You're right. It was just sort of mm, just, and for a main event, I think that's dangerous.
Which kind of sucks because we got a and I it's not fair to compare the weeks to weeks, but we had an awesome main event last week with Alex Shelley and Eddie Edwards. Like
Yeah.
that main event was really good and that blew my expectations out the water because I was like, "Oh, it's going to be a pretty
Yeah.
decent match." And then it ended up being my favorite match of last week's episode.
Yeah. This match felt like it was wrong. Like it shouldn't have been these two.
Honestly, like and I love Kushida, but maybe it would have been better if we kept the same time limit, but maybe Moose versus Kevin Knight might have been a better
I think
choice
that's yeah. I think
because I think
yeah.
style wise, even though Kevin Knight's a little bit more of a high flyer than Moose, I think both of them, because of how similar they are in height and their styles, I feel like would mesh a lot better than this. And I'm not saying that Kushida can only be in the X division, but we know what Kushida is
Yeah.
capable of because that triple threat at Hard to Kill with him, Saban, and Vikingo, like
Yeah.
that was Kushida both being a high flyer X division, but
Yeah.
also the very submission expert and to the mat wrestler we know him to be.
Right. And this one he felt I mean, I literally this one felt like they were just both like, all right, let's put it in neutral and let's just see where we roll. I was just I wasn't excited in this match. I wasn't like and I didn't have any ooh ah moments, and I thought I would with especially with Moose because Moose is so just such a heavy hitter, you know, and I thought I would have had some oh moments with Kushida because Kushida's such a high flyer, and just bounces off those ropes. And I was just like, we didn't get a lot of. I mean, I felt really underwhelmed with this one, and I was actually very excited going into this one, and I just yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe if Kevin Knight had been in this one, I think it would have been a much more I don't know, much more exciting match maybe. Like I'd like to see like Kushida and Eddie Edwards, you know, uh, and I think that would have been a good one.
Or
Or
even like, even though we saw him a couple weeks ago, Kushida versus Brian Myers, I think would actually have
yeah,
been really
I
decent
agree with
too.
that too. I couldn't think of the other guy's name. I was like Eddie Edwards, and his name will come to me, and then I'll say,
Him
or
with the face.
or
Or Mikey's picking up when I'm laying down.
yeah, I was like, because I can't think of what his name is. I'm sorry, Brian Myers. I for some reason, literally your name just left my brain, and I was just like Eddie Edwards and the other
That guy.
guy.
Right. So Moose
Yeah,
picks up the victory here, which then prompts the rest of the system to come out. They beat up on Kushida, and then Alex Shelley and Kevin Knight come out to even the odds. So this plays into two different things, and I think we're going to continue with this time splitters of Kushida, Alex Shelley, and Kevin Knight after No Surrender. But because at No Surrender, it's Moose versus Alex Shelley for the TNA World Championship in a No Surrender match, which is going to be very interesting. But then we find out today, at the time of this recording on Thursday, earlier in the day, on the countdown show, it's going to be Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards versus Kushida and Kevin Knight. So I was just like, cool. So we're continuing this. I think that tag team match is going to be really, really fun. So,
I
but
agree.
so Alex Shelley and LA, not LA Knight, Kevin Knight, because I'm like different promotion. Kevin Knight and Kushida stand tall as TNA goes off the air this week. I think that is the fastest we've ever gone through a TNA episode, and we're about to hit an hour. It's crazy. Alrighty, Will. So last and final thing we got to do before we get on out of here. What do you rate this week's TNA episode?
Well, uh, hmm. Well, I mean, it wasn't bad. I don't. I'd probably give it like around maybe a 7. It was good. It could have been better. I mean, it could have been a lot better. Of course, I did take off points because of Joe Hendry. Um, and I thought the main event was flat. But everything else was pretty good. I mean, so yeah, I'd give it about a 7 for sure, like a strong 7.
I agree with you too, and that's kind of the same score that I gave it for the exact same reasons. I think that a lot of this was we're building towards no surrender. I think a lot of it did get progressed, but there was some stuff in here that I felt like was kind of weird. The main event did fall flat. I feel like you could have taken out the Dirty Dango segment and we really wouldn't have missed much. And don't rob me of a Joe Hendry match. Like, those are why I deducted some points that I did. But 7 out of 10, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. So, next week, when we come back with our TNA review, it'll be me and Will once again because Andrew unfortunately can't be there to, do the go home show review with us. But fear not because Andrew will be here for this review for No Surrender. So the three of us are going to be reviewing that pay per view together. We're super, super excited. Now we go through the housekeeping before we sign off for the evening. If you enjoy what we have here at the Biconics Wrestling Pod, YouTube channel, check out other TNA reviews as well as some other stuff we got here. You can follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. We also have a Patreon that you subscribe to, so that it's a lot of fun as well. And of course, if you can't commit to watching us, you can take us on the go where all your favorite podcasting networks are. And then, special announcement, we are making our first live wrestling convention appearance, which is really interesting. Has been a fun in the works behind the scene. But we're going to be at the New Jersey WrestleCon May 18th and May 19th. So if you are in the area, come say hi stop by our table. We love to have a chat with you, sell you some merch, talk about wrestling, take some pictures. This is really crazy for us because this is our first convention that we are getting to be a part of, which is nuts. And that's just us representing our brand because there's actually going to be some wrestlers there like Billy Starks, Abaddon's going to be there, Kurt Angle, X Pac. Like, this is about to go nuts. And I don't know how professional I can keep us because I might fangirl the whole entire time. I'm just putting it out there. But that is going to be it for us this week. From myself, Will, Andrew, and the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Biconic, all you beautiful guys, gals, non binary pals, he, she, theys, and gays of the internet. We will see you for the next TNA review next week. But until then, ta ta for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.